All right, what's good, fam? Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Today, we are going to see, again, what's new at Pickled Steel, what's coming down the pipeline from this awesome South African company. Both of these are prototypes, so these are not your final options. These are vastly different. Well, not vastly different. These are definitely different than what you're going to have access to. Now, the Blood Eagle has already released, and I believe already sold out, so just be on the lookout, sign up for updates and things like that. Just hit them up, see what they have available, what's coming down the line. The Typhon here, this knife is in early prototyping. They are releasing sometime soon, but it is a completely different variation. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and jump in to this wicked little karambit, which is the Blood Eagle. This knife's going to be this knife is right at $51. D2 blade steel, micarta on the handles. You have a G10 ring here, 2.37 inch blade, 7.12 inches overall, and just 2.65 ounces. Now the blade stock is 2.8 millimeters, so a fairly thin blade stock, and we have pretty much a full height a full height flat grind. So it is going to be a pretty slicey blade. Really cool blade to handle ratio. So you do have a full handle here, and then just got this little ripper of a blade, which is pretty normal for a karambit. But what I will say is what is not normal, at least for me with a karambit, is this position right here is still very comfortable. So I can actually grip this knife without having to get into the ring and still be, I could treat this like a normal knife. Honestly, if I had one, I would probably cut the ring off of mine, and then just have it as a normal, a normal knife. A hawkbill is a very, very useful blade shape, and then without the, without the karambit ring, this thing's going to be, a fairly small footprint in the pocket. Very capable. You got a liner lock, steel liner lock again, micarta, T8, T6 hardware, the satin D2. So there you can see the designer logo there, and then the D2. Now there are going to be some changes to the blade here, so you will actually have a kind of a pocket opener. The quote unquote the wave feature will be added to this knife. I'll have a picture of it come across the screen right now, so you can see how this knife looks in the open and closed position with that new feature. But everything else is pretty much remaining the same. Like I said, you'll have the G10 ring here, and then just that opener there will be the main differences. Like I said, 51 bucks, really not a bad deal there at all. And then it works well. You have a really nice top flipper, front flipper. The front flipper works pretty good for me. I don't know how the the pocket opener or whatever is going to change that on my end, but I can even do a kind of the reach around or top flipper on this one, and that works exceptionally well for me. No issues there. And then of course I can do the kind of the rollover there, and it comes out with authority. Now this one I have not adjusted the detent or done anything with it. Of course, not my knife. It's coming from the Pickled Steel pass around, so I don't want to mess with anything here, being that they are prototypes, and again, not my knives. I just don't want to risk ruining anything. So let's go ahead and jump into the Typhon, and then we will do our hardware checks and all that stuff. So this Typhon, this is one that I am extremely excited for. This knife is definitely more up my alley as far as what we will, what I would like to see in my collection. Now the Typhon will be going through some pretty major changes from what we have here. It's just hopefully they will continue on with doing a premium version like what we have here, but the standard production version of what is actually coming out first will be a budget version of this knife. So it's going to be right at $57, again using D2 steel. And then it'll, instead of being titanium and carbon, it will be either green or black micarta. Now the carbon fiber version will be coming eventually. It's just those first versions will be either D10 or excuse me, either black or green micarta. It will be a button actuated liner lock instead of a plunge lock, so you're going to have a really nice actual detent, a very secure lockup. Now that being said, this standard plunge lock is not bad at all, and it does have a really nice sound to it. Has a nice thwack to it and a ting when it closes. Love the blade shape here. It's a really sweet looking knife. We're looking at a 3.5 inch blade, 8.2 inches overall, and 3.9 ounces, so not a very bad weight, especially considering we have a 4 millimeter thickness here, and full height hollow grind. It comes down to a nice thin slicey edge. Really going to be a sweet user. Feels amazing in the hand. Just a great blade. Let's go ahead and we're going to hit some close-ups on both knives, and then we will do our hardware checks and size comparisons and everything there, and get on through everything. So starting here with the Typhon, Now on this version, like I said, this is a prototype. The standard version will be micarta, but I'm hoping that they'll do these versions because this is just absolutely gorgeous. We got the gold anodized hardware here, and then just a standard titanium frame. Beautiful shred carbon fiber, I believe that is. Yeah, I think that's a shred carbon fiber. Again, gold anode hardware, titanium backspacer. Then we have the carbon fiber on the same, kind of in the same spots on the backside. Nice mirrored, really nice pocket clip. Works very, very well. T6 and T8 hardware coming through here. Now this one is a Jonathan Jacobs design. Take a look here at the tip if we can see it. I don't think we're going to be able to. That's okay. It is perfectly centered. Coming in at the blade, we got a really nice sheep's footy blade here. Plenty of belly. Look at that plunge grind, y'all. That plunge grind is insane. Now this knife is again through a pass around, so there is a nice little kind of a chippy chip there in the blade. But again, prototype, and it's been through the pass around, so God only knows what this poor knife has been through. Pickled Steel logo there, but again, what's really impressive to me is that plunge grind. So you can see that plunge grind is done very well. It doesn't kind of meander off. It is a constant slope, and then it ends. It's a very abrupt end, and that just works really well, and it's going to allow you to have tons of room in there for sharpening. Coming back here on the back side, you see the designer's logo, and then this version is M390, and it has a very cool kind of a I don't know if you want to call it a bead blasted finish, almost like a pearlescent finish on it. Really nicely done. Now the sharpening here is done well. Take a look at that tip, see how that tip does on both sides. Looks like that tip would be pretty even. Let's see if we can see it here. Oh yeah, that tip is great. Yeah, that looks perfect there. So no issues there. Again, sharpening is really good, and there you can see that plunge grind a little bit better. So you can see it literally starts here and then just stops right there, and it's a sudden stop. There's no more kind of, usually you'll see they'll stop here, you'll see the main grind stop there, and then it'll just slowly slope down to about right here. But this one does actually stop right there. There's no sloping or anything like that. So you can see that there. You can actually see that stoppage. So really, really nicely done. Let's go ahead and bring in the Blood Eagle. And here we have a enlarged pivot. Really nice, just kind of a standard micarta. Top flipper, front flipper. Like I said, the new one will have a that horn sticking out there. Again, same T6 and T8 hardware. G10 ring. Open pillar construction. Steel liners. We've got a really wide footprint wire pocket clip here. So it's going to be a utilitarian pocket clip. Works really well. Going to do everything you need it to do. Perfectly centered. I know we're not going to be able to see that that tip. We'll try it from the other angle here. Again, standard satin blade. We got a hawkbill blade here, 3/4 height flat grind. Well, more than 3/4 height. Dang near full height flat grind. Typical Pickled Steel logos, and then there is, trying to get it to focus on that designer logo. But it is a I'm going to mispronounce this, so I apologize, but it is Mornier Swart Designs. Pretty sure I mispronounced that, but again, I tried at least. Same thing here. We got some beautiful sharpening. No issues with the sharpening at all. Again, I don't think we're going to be able to see that tip. We might be able to. Yeah, not really. Plunge grind here it's a decent plunge grind, but there's no sharpening or no sharpening choil or anything like that. So we are going to start. Oh, come on, camera. We are going to start to get a smile pretty instantly there. You can see where that plunge grind ends. It ends right. See right there. So you guys can see where that is comparing to that edge. So lockup here, we can actually check the lockup is great. Lock bar access, again, it's pretty good. It would be nice to see a little bit of chamfering here on the edge of the lock bar, which will give you a little bit more room to get in there. And same thing on the inside of this liner. But outside of that, I've got no issues with either knife. I think both are really fun blades. Really excited to see the production version of the Typhon. I may even be interested in getting that budget version when it does release, but I'm really excited about seeing them do a premium version. I'm just checking out all of our hardware here. So we got T8 and T6 hardware throughout. So far everything is done really well. No real wiggle room on anything, and I don't know why I'm playing with this knife with the blade open, especially with a hawkbill. That's just a recipe for disaster. But so far so good. I don't have any wiggle on any of these. Yeah, they're all done really, really well. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our size comparisons, and we will get this show on the road. So the The Blood Eagle here is going to be a hard one to really get an idea of size for, just because it is a such a short blade and having a fairly long handle there. But we will do our best to get them lined up. Let's see. Try to get this one lined up a little bit more, especially since it has that massive pivot. That should be pretty well lined up. So there we are with the Penguin, and the like I said, it's a weird comparison. So you definitely got a much longer handle here, and kind of the same thing here. The blade on the Typhon isn't much larger than the Penguin. I'm guessing it's going to be about a ½ inch difference, but very similar blade shapes there. But then you have a fairly large handle. And coming in with the Pyrite. So again, it's going to be pretty much more the same with the Pyrite. Very similar blade shapes, very similar blade lengths, and then just a shorter handle there. And coming in here, we've got the Drop Bear. Now you can take a look at that. Now the Minotaur coming up is going to be a very similar size to the Typhon. It's going to compare very, very similarly. Try to get those lined up as best I can. So handle length here is going to be pretty much the same, and then these two are definitely the same, pretty much the same overall length. Come in with the Bel Air. There we can see that there. So again, pretty similar in overall length here if we were to just line them up, you know, tip to tail. So very similar in overall length there, and then even, you know, doing that here, it does help with seeing that difference in overall length. So I might start doing just doing that and doing doing the comparisons instead of pivot to pivot, doing them. So here's pivot to pivot with the Malibu, and then line them up butt to butt, and then you can see, you know, kind of that difference in overall length. You know, so very, very similar lengths here. Actually, the Malibu is slightly larger overall, and then smaller overall here, but you can really see that difference in the handle lengths for sure. Now PM2 going to be a very similar overall length, just slightly larger than that Typhon, but definitely larger than the Blood Eagle. And then last but not least here, we have the MSI. So the MSI definitely, as per usual, a larger knife than both offerings here. But I am very, very interested in you know, what you guys think about these knives. I personally actually like the Karambit, which is unusual for me because Karambits usually don't do much for me. But because this knife isn't extremely curved, it still functions for me as a normal knife. Like I said, I could very easily chop this ring off, not have to worry about it, and just have a weird kind of backspacer, and the button, you know, the butt of the knife would be just kind of a weird shape. It wouldn't bother me at all because this would be more of a workhorse knife for cutting up cardboard and stuff like that. This knife would do great with that. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you excited to see what the future holds with Pickled Steel and what the future holds with these knives? I, for one, certainly am, and I look forward to hearing y'all's opinion. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Please remember to be kind, be humble, and be EDC. Y'all take care.